To my fifth episode of my podcasts, Know the Truth with Esther. My name is Esther Njeru. I'm a born-again Christian. I'm attending Fem Family Church, Kutus. I've studied counseling psychology to the master's degree level. I'm a Sunday school teacher, and I also participate in guidance and counseling department. Thank you for joining me today for this podcast. Welcome and enjoy yourself. Continue subscribing, continue liking, and sharing the podcasts. Today we are continuing with our last theme or last topic of self-awareness. And we had described what self-awareness is. We said that self-awareness is the ability of an individual knowing their values and standards and then aligning them into their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, and their behavior. So people who have well-aligned values and standards, and they're aligning with thoughts, actions, emotions, they are said to be self-aware because they are aware of how they will react in different circumstances. We say for us to get to know ourselves better, we must embark on a journey into ourselves. An inward journey, we said, is not an easy journey because many of the things we have in ourselves may not be very pleasant. The experiences we have had all through our lives may not have been very pleasant. Hence, we buried most of the things into a subconscious mind, and then getting them out is another journey which requires a lot of patience and understanding, and for us to be fair to ourselves so that we don't blame ourselves so much when we are navigating that journey. So we talked about the values and how we acquired them. We acquire values as we grow up. The significant people in our lives are the ones who impact values. And those values are impacted by especially our parents, our caregivers, people we interact with, like in church, in school, and in the society in general. The society or the culture has norms and standards, which as we grow up, they are impacted into us. So a child who is developing should be able to acquire values if the caregivers or the significant people in their lives are doing good work in the child's life. But if that is ignored, then a child grows without those values, especially where parents are uninvolved in a child's life, or they are permissive. They do not correct behavior as the child grows up. So this child may acquire very negative values of being even aggressive, values which are not beneficial to him or her. And those things are seen much later in life when this child looks or meets real situations in life. The way they will react to those situations will be determined by whether they acquired values or not. So, for example, a value like honesty, if it was not inculcated, in this child. They'll be picking things up from other people. And because no one corrected them, it will be promoted from one level to the other. So as they grow up, that dishonest, they will just keep on climbing. If it is, for example, lack of integrity, or the child is not respectful, they are not respecting others, they're not respecting authority, it grows from the home level to the outside, then eventually it will be out of hand. So this child eventually may disrespect or may dishonor authority, which will make him to end up in the wrong place, like in jail. So values are inculcated in individuals as they grow up, especially at the teenage level, where the individual or the teenager is trying to get their self-identity. If they don't navigate that stage of life well, it will either make or break their lives, because they either get their identity, they know who they are, they know what they value, they know their standards, they know their principles, or they lack that. And that one is called diffusion. So when a child or a teenager lacks to get their self-identity, the way their life will turn out to be will be very, very confusing. It will be very, very, it will not be a good life, because they will be easily influenced. For example, to join bad groups, bad company. They will not be able to say no to peer pressure. So it must affect them. So values are important in our lives. Then we talked about thoughts, and we said thoughts are just ideas which come to our mind. And then we give a narrative about the thought. We attach a story or a narrative towards the thought. Some thoughts are beneficial, while others are not beneficial. And we explored that in our last podcast. And we said we must interrogate our thoughts. The thoughts which are taking us down a hole of depression or anxiety, we must be able to identify them by interrogating those thoughts and rejecting them. And we said that there is a way you can say no to negative thoughts. If a thought comes to your mind and it is not a good thought, it is not a helpful thought, you can say no. I will not think about that. I will not think that way. Instead, I will think like this. And we said the Bible gives us a very good guide of how we can control our thoughts, because it says, let us be transformed by renewing our minds. So we can renew our minds every day, and we can choose those thoughts which bring benefit to us and reject thoughts which are not beneficial. So today, let us look at feelings and emotions and how they affect us. So feelings are just messages from within the body. They are messages from within the body which are in response to situations or circumstances. So you can feel good, or you can feel happy, you can feel sad, you can feel fearful. So they're just responses or messages generated from within our bodies. Feelings and emotions are very much related, and emotions are deeper. They are deeper messages or responses which our bodies generate. And for emotions, they actually have very physical or physiological changes. They cause physiological changes in our bodies. For example, when one gets angry, is an emotion. What happens to our bodies when we get angry? Our heart rate increases. Our breathing rate increases. Some of us may start shaking because you have experienced a lot of anger. So our blood races through our blood vessels. Some of us may sweat when you get angry or when you get mad. So those are physiological changes which are generated by emotions. And these physiological changes have a reason why our heart rate increases. For example, when we get angry or when we get fearful, when you are confronted by a fearful situation, the same physiological changes will take place because these emotions or these feelings are messages to us which help us to survive and to escape danger. So, for example, if we are confronted with a fearful situation, yours is to either get out of that situation or confront. For example, if you are attacked by somebody, you can either defend yourself or run away from that person. So our bodies are well adapted to cater for those emergencies which take place in our lives. And that is why we were given emotions, so that we can cope with day-to-day life situations. So emotions are universal. All human beings on earth have those emotions. People feel sad, people grieve, people get happy, people get angry. So emotions have been created to within ourselves. Even animals have emotions because they also need to survive. So emotions are responses to situations and circumstances which happen to us, and we are supposed to get a message from that emotion so that we can make a decision. Either, for example, to fight or to flee. But now, sometimes we don't control, or emotions get out of hand. When emotions get out of hand, then the psychological effect on us becomes harmful. It becomes a harmful emotion. For example, if we are always in fight or flight mode, we are always on fight-flight mode, like when one is anxious, or you tend to be angry all the time because of how you are brought up. Maybe you never took care of the anger which was generated as you are growing up. So you became an angry person and you grew up being angry. So what happens? Your body, you are forcing your body to be on a fight and flight mode throughout. So your heart is racing all the time because the chances of you not being angry are low. You look for things which will make you angry. Even things which do not require to make you angry, you still get angry. So in your family, for example, maybe something small has happened, you overreact by getting too angry about it. So the level of these emotions, they affect our bodies physiologically. The well-being of our bodies is affected, the health. So if your heart is always beating fast because you are angry most of the times, it means you are prone to have high blood pressure. If your heartbeat or your breathing rate is always fast, then those physiological changes do not, they are not good for our health, because that fight and flight mode is only meant for an emergency situation. So it's like our bodies are on emergency throughout. So anxiety, depression, all those negative emotions make us sick. So they will affect us physiologically. And our medical fraternity have done research, and they have said that many of the people who present with diseases in hospitals, about 80% of them, they are not actual diseases, but they are psychological. It is due to emotions which have not been controlled well, thoughts which have not been controlled well. So we expose our bodies to situations which are harmful. So it is up to us now to regulate our emotions. Even when we get angry, let it not get out of hand. The positive emotions also have positive impacts in our lives. For example, people who are usually happy, it has been shown that through research, they have more fulfilling lives and they have even a longer lifespan. People who are generally angry will have a shorter lifespan because now they expose their bodies to disease. So it is good to be in touch with our emotions. So as we grow up, most of us in the African culture, we are not very good at identifying the feelings and emotions we go through. So any small thing which upsets you, especially our men or our male gender, they have not gotten the skill of identifying actual feelings or emotions. So anything which is upsetting is always converted into anger. One gets angry because they don't know anything else or anything how else they can behave. But in the Western cultures, where children are sensitized, that feelings, you can feel sad, you can feel frustrated, you can feel distracted, unrespected, or disrespected. You can feel all those negative feelings. They don't all have to result in anger. And if you are able to identify that particular feeling and get in touch with it, it is easier for us to deal with those emotions. But the way we socialize, especially our male gender children, where they are told you cannot cry, be a man, you cannot show emotions, all that works negatively in the long run. For the female, the girls, for example, the way they are socialized is quite different. And because girls, they tend to have play groups, they have close associations with their peers. So they are able to express more of their emotions in those small groups. As they play, they once they don't agree, they resolve those conflicts in their play. So they're able to handle some of those emotions which come up quite well. But for the male, you see even the way they play, the games they play is organized games, like football. A game with rules, regulations. There is no time to express an emotion in a football match. You are offside, you just follow the rules the way they are. So in the football field, there is nowhere a male child will be able to express. And the other types of games, they are just competitive games. So, and the male child wants to be competitive. That is what they have been socialized to be. very competitive. So their aim is to win. So emotions come number 2 or 3. So eventually, this male gender, as they grow up, they have no skills of handling emotions. So for example, now when they get into relationships, it's very hard for them to express what they feel. Everything will be expressed as anger. And that is why they become destructive, either outwards or inwards. Their anger is directed either outwards towards other people, so they harm others, or they become too aggressive to other people, or to themselves. So they start self-harm. So they very easily get into bad habits like drugs or bad groups because they are trying to handle those emotions. Then even self-harm, like even suicide or distracting themselves, even not performing in school, they refuse to perform, meaning they are harming themselves, but they don't know that is what they are doing. So that behavior has resulted from this individual not knowing how to handle their emotions. So the behavior we see now is the result of all those things we have talked about: the thoughts, the feelings, the values, and then the behavior results. So whatever we see as behavior of people, it has come from somewhere. People do not just behave the way they behave out of nothing. It has been generated from a place. Their values, their standards, then how they process their thoughts, how they process their feelings, their emotions, then the result is how they'll behave. So eventually, this person will be affected by that. And then, so now in self-awareness, somebody wants to look inwards to see, where did I get this type of anger from? Then address that issue. You address that issue, you dig deep. We say that the behavior we see outward is out of what we don't see. Like a tree, we see the leaves and the branches. That is the behavior, but we don't see the roots. So the root of this behavior has to be addressed. And that is where we come in as psychologists or counselors to help people navigate these negative behaviors for them to be able to have better mental health and to live better lives. So that is what happens. So still in the journey of self-awareness, we want to talk about the individual now, the person, the I, the physical person. We are through with the thoughts and the behaviors and what have you. Then a person has to know themselves. This physical person we see. One individual or person, the I, we have 3 parts. If you can draw 3 circles, one circle outside, another circle inside, and a smaller circle inside. So you have 3 circles. So in the outer circle, it is our public domain, what other people see about us. So like what you can see about me, you can see my hair, you can see my face, you can see my shoulders. That is what the public sees. So when I left my house, I've exposed this body to the public. And it's me who has determined what the public will see from me. So from the outside now, what the public can see, there is what is private. So the next circle is private. Your private domain. What you know about yourself, about your body. The things other people do not know. So whatever you know about yourself, maybe when you're in your bathroom or wherever, people do not see that. It's only you who sees. Then after that, you have the hidden domain. Within me, there are things which I do not see. For example, I have the brain in my head. The eye I can see is outside here, but I know there is an eyeball inside the orbit. There are many structures. I cannot see my heart. I cannot see my lungs. I cannot see my kidneys. So all those structures are hidden, but they're still part of me. And they make who I am. They make me to be who I am. So we must be in touch of our physical bodies. We must be in touch with our physical bodies. So once you appreciate yourself and know what of yourself to give to the public, because now once you have dressed up at home and you have stepped out of the door of your house, you are no longer in your private domain. Now you have stepped out into the public domain. For example, how you dress up. You must be self-aware about how you are dressing up as you step out to the public. Are you satisfied, or are you okay with what other people are seeing in you? Or are you self-conscious? There are people who step out of their houses and now they become so much self-conscious, they are not comfortable. So, for example, the way we dress when we get out of our houses, even the way we do our hair, the way we do our makeup, it is not for ourselves. We are doing it for the public. We are stepping it out into the public domain. So when you are dressing up, remember, you're not just dressing up for yourself. You're dressing for you to be seen by other people. Are you comfortable with what people see in you as you step out of your house? So you have this saying in Kenya or even in the rest of the world that your dress is your choice. We agree with that. You choose what to dress, what to put on, and not what to put on. We agree with that. But remember, once you are stepping out, you are now it's no longer about you. You are also now in the space of other people. So if you are dressed, for example, in a mini skirt or something, which is exposing you, your private domain is being exposed. Remember, you are the one who has worn that dress, but other people are seeing it. So if you're okay with that, well and good. But you ask yourself this question: what motivates me to wear whatever I'm wearing? What motivates me? Why do I have the need to dress in a mini skirt or to expose your breasts or to have a bare back? Is it according to the norm of your society or not? If you have stepped out of the norm of your society, why do you feel that there is a need to do that? Why is your subconscious or your conscious mind having the need for you to dress the way you are dressing? So even the way we present ourselves to the world has an impact on our inside, our psychological predisposition. So somebody who is like exposing themselves to the world, it means that there is a need. You have generated a need in yourself to to be seen, to make heads turn, to see you. You ask yourself, why is there such a need? So you go back into your self-awareness and see, was I validated? Was I recognized? As I was growing up, did people appreciate me? Did people tell me I'm good, I'm looking good? If not, if you lacked that, then it created a need in you. It created a need in you. That is now why you want to be seen by the world. So let us interrogate our behavior in the public domain. So as we do that, we'll be understanding ourselves better and better, so that we live better lives and more fulfilled lives. So for now, continue liking my video and my podcast, continue subscribing and sharing as we continue with the next podcasts, the ones to come. And they'll still be on self-awareness because you have not yet finished. So thank you for listening to me, and bye-bye.